right, Mills, thank you. Let me now bring in Principal and Managing Director for Madison Ventures Plus, Mitch Roschelle, with more than 40 years experience serving real estate investors. Mitch, good morning to you. Let me get to 401ks in just a second, but just first, your top line thoughts and your read on the economy shrinking and what that truly means for everyday Americans.
Yeah, I'm certainly not freaked out about it, and I don't think most Americans should be. In fact, as your reporter mentioned, the stock market fell off immediately on the news, and then as they had time to digest it, the stock market actually rallied towards the end of the day because there was other good news out there about the economy. I think it's really a number that's completely influenced by the trade policy of this administration and businesses pulling forward imports to get ahead of tariffs. It's kind of a wonky thing, but when you build up inventories, it has a drag on GDP. I think tomorrow's jobs number will probably be a more important indication of where we are in the economy.
Yeah.
But the stock market's up again this morning, so it seems like it's not something that anybody should be too worried about at this point.
And let me just elaborate on that a little bit. I'm glad to hear that you're not fearful yet. We always hear, don't hit the panic button yet. When do we push the panic button, though? And how should we handle for that possible moment to come?
There's sort of an old adage: when your neighbor loses his or her job, it's nothing to worry about. When you lose your job, now it's start time to panic. I think the thing that most, and listen, I've lived through many recessions and I grew up in one in the 70s. I think you realize unemployment is the thing that really is the indicator of how healthy an economy is and how it impacts you. So if people are staying, employed, if wages are going up at least as high as inflation is, then I think the economy is healthy and most people have no reason to panic.
Yeah, and let's talk about jobs. I know the U.S. economy added 228,000 of them in March. To your point, the new jobs report comes out tomorrow. What are you expecting those numbers to look like for April?
Probably slightly lower than that. I think the estimates are 133, but I don't think I've ever seen a month where the number came in completely in line with consensus estimates. The thing that's important about these jobs numbers the last several months is that these numbers are largely devoid of government jobs. And if you look back the last, for much of the Biden administration, a lot of the job growth was government jobs. So this is telling me that the private sector, devoid of government intervention, is capable of producing jobs. To me, that's actually a good thing and not a bad thing. So if the number's lower because we've stripped out government jobs, that's not such a terrible thing.
Yeah, and let's end on a little bit of good news because that's my style. That's how I like to do things. The average price for a gallon of gas is down by nearly 50 cents, Mitch. I mean, that's compared to a year ago. And GasBuddy.com says gas is below $3 a gallon in at least 23 different states. What does the forecast look like for gas prices for the rest of the year? And is that indicative that prices elsewhere will also lower?
Yeah, there's two sides to that coin, Markie. One is that demand is down. That's why prices are down, which is not a good leading indicator of the economy. The other is that there's an expectation that production is going to rise and there's going to be more domestic production, which is a good thing for us. I'll tell you, I put gas in a car and it was less than $3 for regular, and I was thrilled. I was in California last week and it was still close to $6, which was annoying.
Yeah.
And I have a boat, and I don't think they've got the memo that gas prices are down because it's still close to $5. But the fact of the matter is, for most Americans in the plurality of states, prices are dropping, and I think that's a good thing. And that's what's driving inflation lower, the fact that energy prices are going.
I filled my tank up here in Chicago the other day. I was pleasantly surprised at the final tally number that I saw. We'll leave it there for today. Mitch Roschelle, thank you so much as always. Have a great Thursday.
You bet. See you soon. You too.